Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
So as Father Chris and I were sitting here sort of spitballing some concepts and some ideas for our joint live stream message, and just to pause there for a moment to give you a little inside baseball talk. When we do our individual messages, those have a lot of thought that goes into them. There's a lot of preparation. We will do our research. We'll figure out exactly what we want to do. But when we do the message together, we have intentionally not prepared too much because we want it to be organic. We think that there's something sort of interesting about the off the top of our head nature of the conversation that we have that you get to participate in. So when we're ready for these, we'll usually just come up with a topic and then turn the camera on, and here we go. So back to today, as we were looking for topics to discuss, we selected and then discarded a number of different ideas, but the one we chose to talk about was the Sunday morning Faith Matters Forum, because we've recognized that Faith Matters, while it was always an important part of what we do here at Epiphany, seems to have taken on a new life and a new level of importance in the pandemic, as we've had to sort of reimagine the Faith Matters Forum. Now, if you're watching this and you don't know what that is, every Sunday morning at 9 a.m., we get together virtually, as we are right here, and we have what I like to call a guided conversation about the Sunday morning gospel passage. It is decidedly, well, I think, Father, it's probably decidedly not your grandmother's Bible study, is it?
No, it's a nice combination of, and it's an evolution of sort of the best qualities of a lot of our members, then interacting, of course, with the Sunday gospel reading, which I'll remind people is on a 156-week cycle. The Episcopal Church and lots of mainline Protestant churches use a lectionary that's year A, B, C, and this is centuries old, very carefully chosen, which Bible stories were decided to share at the principal worship services since the 1200s. And so we have the very best of Bible texts mixing with some very, very insightful people that we have at Epiphany. And I will mention again, too, that in terms of just who is naturally a teacher, who has great gifts from God as a teacher, I don't consider myself strong in this category at all. But everybody who knows Rick says Rick is kind of naturally a teacher. You're like all the best things of an academic, but blessedly not an academic. Do you hear that?
I hear a compliment in there, and I'll take the compliment. But I will deflect it a little bit.
You moderate the Faith Matters well. You did in person, and it has evolved. It has morphed into this virtual thing that I think is better than ever.
I think it is too. And I said I'm going to deflect the compliment a little bit. Thank you for the compliment, but I'm going to deflect it a bit because really what I do is I moderate or sort of facilitate a conversation. And it's a conversation between you and us. And we do it here through the comment section on Facebook. And Chris and my wife Jen and I are the ones present in the room, but you all are the ones who really give us the conversation and give us your thought process. I like to opine that the sermon that you get is a monologue. One of us talks and you listen. It's a one way. But the Faith Matters Forum is intended to be a dialogue. We'll read the gospel together, and then we want to hear what you think. So I usually start by saying, what did you hear? What did you hear in the gospel that you might have not heard before? What did you hear differently this time? Was there a phrase? Was there a passage? What challenged you? What attracted you? What might have repelled you? And from there, we're off and running. And the thing I love best about the Faith Matters Forum is I never know where it's going to go, because it's all dependent upon what you say to one another. And that takes us to any number of different places, which are always interesting and amazing.
And people are rightly comfortable that in the format, that there's pretense has never been rewarded. And so people can be utterly confused or baffled and know that the venue is a place where you can safely communicate that. And you say, I just don't get this at all.
Right.
Or, I've always heard this said, but that just doesn't feel right. We genuinely, there's a very high level of honesty and authenticity, and I hate to use this overused word, almost vulnerability in the discussion that keeps it totally real and forward-moving and productive and time-worthy. It's a very worthwhile 27 minutes of a morning, I find.
Right. We start with the premise that we don't have the answers, but if we spend enough time talking amongst ourselves together, we can at least figure out what the questions should be. Now, that's not what you typically hear from a church. I know one of the challenge that I hear from a lot of sort of Gen X people is we're hungry for conversation, not dogma. Well, sisters, brothers, if you found this live stream, then you are in the right place. That's exactly what Faith Matters exists for. It's for conversation. It's for us to ask questions of God and of one another. It's for us to wonder and ponder what that gospel passage might be saying to us in this time and in this place. And the insights that always sort of bubble up from the ground really help to frame the conversation in what I think are very exciting ways. So I do think that is one of the things that makes that format quite unique.
Have you ever actually heard something or thought of something in the Faith Matters that you fly in last minute to your sermon?
Oh, yes.
I have on a couple occasions.
Oh,
yes.
Oh,
wow, that goes really great at like the 60% point of my sermon. That's a better example than the one I've got. And I'll swap them out.
Yeah, I as you probably know, I tend to preach the same sermon at 8 and 10. Father Chris has a different intent. But if you heard my 8 o'clock sermon and they heard my 10 o'clock sermon, it's not at all uncommon for a drop-in from Faith Matters to appear at the 10 o'clock sermon, because you teach me as much as we teach one another.
I think an argument can be made, too, that our coffee hour, again, for people who aren't as familiar with Epiphany, what we're doing during COVID and have been doing now since whatever it was, mid-March, is at the end of the service, we just sit down and have virtual coffee hour. But the spillover effect from Faith Matters is that we read the thread on our phones as we're talking. So it really does feel about as dialogical as it possibly could.
Right.
And I think the coffee hour that follows the service has also been improved and empowered because of Faith Matters. They've helped one another.
Yeah, I think they can. And I will share this with you too. I heard this feedback from someone who participates. They said, what I really like about the flow of it is, so we start Faith Matters with reading the gospel passage, and then we discuss it amongst ourselves for half an hour. Then we take a little break. We go into the service where we hear the gospel passage again, and then we hear a sermon, which many times includes the gospel, or at least the rest of the lectionary. And then we get into coffee hour, where we have sort of that opportunity to conclude our conversation. So we can have up to 5 different opportunities to have essences of theological conversation on a Sunday. And boy, you know what? When I was 20, I would have thought that was the worst thing on the planet. I would have been signing up for root canals before I would have signed up for that. But as I look back now, I say, boy, that's kind of cool.
It's an all-volunteer army, though.
It is. It is. No one's forcing y'all to be part of this.
And yeah, the both like, I've had enough today.
Yeah, I don't think I want to do that.
Right. You don't. It's not like if you were at church, you have to actually get up from your chair and walk out. At home, you can just turn your phone off and,
But there must be something to it, because we can see the numbers, and we'll have 30 or 40 people participating live in the forum, and then over the course of the week, there could be another 100, 150 people who watch a pre-recorded conversation on YouTube or on our Facebook site. There's definitely some impact there.
I mean, and there's, like you say, it's a lot on a Sunday, but some people, for instance, I know Rachel Black made a comment late in coffee hour, and she was here at the 8 a.m. service and had been part of Faith Matters. Mm-hmm. She referred to the sermon at the 10 o'clock as sermon number 4, which is a reference to the 8 o'clock sermon. I bring all this up because having had this much spiritual conversation with Ms. Rachel Black, were we to tomorrow discuss a pastoral something, we would have this whole battery, this whole foundation of shared conversation that we could both refer back to or laugh about.
Right.
It really is a parish building and deepening. I don't just mean in terms of size, but a lot of love, prayer, and thought goes into the unfolding of a Sunday morning.
Agreed.
And it's all available to you, most of it virtually, and if you want the whole show, you can come for an in-person worship at 8 a.m. I think I've gotten away from Faith Matters.
You have. We're into our commercial messages, folks.
Okay, let's get back to Faith Matters. You know what? Yes, speaking of commercial, I will add this.
Quickly, because we're running out of time.
It is an option to tell people that they can begin not with church services here, but check out Faith Matters.
Yeah. That's a great thing. I mean, if you've got people in your orbit who say, oh, I don't think I like the way church just kind of shoves religion down our throats, cue up a Faith Matters conversation for them. They may find that it's refreshingly different. I think it is, and I think that's one of the things I love about it. I tell people all the time, it's my favorite half an hour of the week, and I hope for some of you it is as well. All right, that's what we have. Blessings on your day. We'll see you tomorrow morning.